What's up everyone, and welcome to a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle Dokkan event guide. Today we'll be discussing how to beat the Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta event, Surpassing Even the Gods, on Super Difficulty. Beating this event allows you to Dokkan Awaken 4 different Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta units. To awaken the Agility, Physical, and Strength cards, you will need to beat the event on Super 5 times, while to awaken the Intelligence one, you will need to beat the event 11 times. Unfortunately for me and many others who own the unit, the Tech Nuking unit will not awaken in this event. Clearly the Intelligence unit is the most sought after unit for this Dokkan Fest, but the other awakenings do provide benefits for their units as well. For instance, the Strength and Agility units both gain a key link, which they did not previously have, in the form of Prepared for Battle. This isn't the greatest for the Agility unit, but for the Strength it is a great link skill to pick up. Physical unit also will passively give itself a plus 20% attack and defense boost, on top of many other improvements on these units between the previous versions and the Dokkan Awaken versions. Unfortunately enough, this event's actually pretty simple, so let's break it down. In this video, I will be using a Mono Super or Heroes team, and I'll be discussing other potential setups you can use later in the video. As a mostly free-to-play player, I don't have a complete top-tier team, though I would say I've been decently lucky and been able to pull some of the top tier units for this team. And so since it is a hero team, I will be using a Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta as my leader card, as he provides super type units with plus 3 key as well as HP attack and defense bonuses of 50%. While this doesn't quite have the stat boost that a type lead such as Agility Super Vegeta or Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks would provide, the plus 3 key is the same as a mono lead, and this way it won't restrict certain cards from stat bonuses, though that's not as prevalent since I am only going to be using 2 types in this video. For a friend unit, use another Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, and try to look for one that has been put through the potential system and gotten a lot of attribute upgrades. For instance, the most important thing I would recommend to look for is critical hits, as you are usually going to be attacking at least twice due to the passive, and you can get critical hits on counters, and since you will be having a seal with this team set up, you will be constantly having opportunities to counter. Now if you don't have your own copy of this unit, that's okay. If you have any of the units listed on the screen, use those as your lead. Take your pick out of any of them. The really important thing is to get all types key plus 3. If you don't have any of these cards, then use a key lead of plus 2, or anything that you think can really help you get through this fight. The key is going to be the most important thing though, as you want to constantly have super attacks. You could also use the LR Androids or the Intelligence Turles card, because they give all types cleat plus 4 and plus 3 respectively. However, with a Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta friend lead, these cards would not benefit from the stat boost given by that unit, and so would kind of be ineffective for this mission. In my second slot is going to be the Agility Super Vegeta card. This card's amazing, it counters, it does really good damage, there's a strength phase of this fight, it works out perfectly. If you do not have this unit, as I know many people do not, it's one of the god leads that a lot of people are missing, substitute this card with your best hitter. That's basically the point of what I'm doing right here, except for it's a little bit more important because he also has a countering ability. So now with your first 2 slots taken up, you're going to want to use your third slot on a sealer. I am going to be using Super Saiyan Bardock because unfortunately I have not been able to pull Super Saiyan Gotenks, and Bardock also gives plus 2 key passively when HP is 50% or above. And that is going to line up perfectly with the 4th slot, which I'm going to be using on Agility Golden Frieza. This is going to be the slot where you put in a tank. AGL Golden Frieza is going to be my pick in this slot over Super Janemba because he does reduce damage by 90% when HP is 50% or above at the start of the turn. That's the key point here. It has to be 50% or above at the start of the turn. So if you are below 50% and you have a Golden Frieza up, it will not matter if you heal, he'll still take quite a bit of damage. But you're going to want to be staying above 50% anyway to retain the usefulness of Bardock's passive as well. So you're going to want to keep an eye on your HP and kind of be doing the math in your head so that as these units come back in the rotation, they do not lose their passive skill. So these 4 slots are the most important ones. Your 5th and 6th slots are yours to do whatever you so choose with. I personally decided to go with 2 more hitters. I went with Agility Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and Physical Great Saiyaman Super Saiyan 2. These slots could also be good for support units, such as Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku or Pandel. Both of these cards passively raise all allies' attack by 25%. And obviously it goes without saying that Tech Vegeta is the best support card in the game, as he gives all allies plus 30% attack and defense. I'll talk about items really quick too before we get too far into this. My setup for this is going to be Senzu, Dende, Ghost Usher, and King Yemma. If you're running low on either Ghost Ushers or King Yemma, Baba could also be an appealing option. But keep in mind that with this team setup, you're going to have a seal almost all the time anyway, if not all the time. Now let's begin talking about the fight itself and what you're going to want to do. So the first phase is going to be a base form intelligence phase, and my guess is going to be that you're not watching this video because you're having trouble with this phase, and if you are, then I really don't know if this is going to help you at all. So we'll talk about the next phase, which is going to be Tech Super Saiyan Vegeta. So there are basically 4 stages to this fight if you did not already... So if you did not already know before watching this... So if you did not already know, there are 4 stages to this fight. There's a starter intelligence, a tech phase, a strength phase, and then another intelligence phase at the very end. And the middle 2 phases are going to probably be the biggest challenge in this fight. It's during this phase that you're going to want to start implementing the strategy that will help you in this event. You want to set up so that you constantly have your sealer returning and have at least 1 blocker every turn. If you're running the exact same team that I am, the latter part shouldn't be an issue as 4 units are capable blockers. You'll have a Golden Frieza, a Vegito, and 2 Super Saiyan Blue Vegetos. But the sealer part might cause some less than ideal situations, as this tech phase Vegeta does around 20k on normal attacks to most units and around 60k on his super. Try to put your sealer in the first slot as much as possible. However, if Tech Vegeta is about to attack 3 times on the first slot and your tank is on rotation, put the tank there. If you're running a setup similar to mine, this stage will go on for quite a long time because you don't have an intelligence card that hits hard. So I said I'd talk about different team setups that you could use later on in this video, and I'm going to talk a little bit about one now that would actually work pretty well, and that is Mono Intelligence. And while I am fortunate enough to have a Buhan, I have not tested a Mono Intelligence team, as I do not possess a Super Saiyan Bardock unit, which is the ceiling unit for intelligence, and I would not really recommend running into a Dokkan event without a sealer unless you were just going to run 6 hitters. Now, while intelligence is a weak unit overall, not really having a lot of quote-unquote top tier or great cards in the global build of the game currently, it can be appealing if you have a lot of the top tier cards to run the team, because intelligence and strength are the 2 units in this fight that will not ever be at type disadvantage, as there is no agility phase and there is no physical phase of this fight. I would recommend running a Mono Intelligence team over a Mono Strength team, as Mono Intelligence is a little bit easier to play because you aren't relying necessarily on 1 or 2 units, whereas with a Mono Strength team in the current build, you pretty much would have to rely on Super Gogeta and Omega Shenron, 1 to hit and 1 to defend. On an intelligence team, Buhan hits hard, Ultimate Gohan hits hard, and Super Saiyan God Goku hits pretty hard for himself as well, along with lowering defense, which is something that both Buhan and Janemba are capable of doing with their super attack, along with Buhan's passive ability, which regenerates HP with Ki Spheres. But now let's get back to the fight, as just about now you should be finishing up the tech phase. Unfortunately, I got super attack during this, so I've already had to use a healing item, and Super Vegito has kind of negated his usefulness during this phase. Fortunately enough, he will be very useful for this phase, which is strength. Now this phase is probably the hardest phase to get through, I would say, harder than the last phase. 1, he has an extra health bar, so that's never very good. And 2, most of your units are really going to be useless during this phase. If you use a physical sealer, then that's 1 unit that's already at type disadvantage. On top of this, you're going to be running 1, if not 2 Super Saiyan Blue Vegetos, and they're going to be at type disadvantage too. Much like last round with Agility Super Vegito, your counters are going to do a lot less damage on top of your super attacks as well. In this particular run, I kind of screwed myself, because at one point I rotated out Golden Frieza because I was doing a bad job of doing something that I told you guys to make sure you did, which was staying above 50% HP. And part of that was because I kept getting super attacked before I could put a seal on in the last couple of rounds. And this is actually a good opportunity to remind you guys that while this guide hopefully will help you beat the event if you were having difficulty doing it before, it's not going to be 100% exact to your experience. Obviously, Vegeta is going to attack in different slots. You're going to get super attacked randomly sometimes, like I did in the last round. Things are going to happen in your experience that did not happen to me in this video, and things will maybe turn your way a little bit more lucky than I got at a couple different points in this video. And that is to be expected. Everybody's experience with this event is going to be slightly different every time they play it. This is just designed to help you guys if you are having difficulty with this event and trying to give you guys a strategy or a way to set up your team that you may not have thought of before that is actually really helpful to beat this event. So the strength phase is going to be the most challenging phase. So in my opinion, the strength phase is the most challenging phase, as your Vegetos aren't going to be useful. your sealer is going to be put in a couple of bad spots. And in my case, my extra hitter, the Super Saiyan 2 Great Saiyaman card, is also physical, so it probably didn't really help that I did that to myself either. But Super Vegito and Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku are kind of making this phase a breeze. I said it was the most difficult, and then I kind of just went in and wrecked this. But if you really don't have good agility cards, this phase is going to give you quite the hard time, because you're really going to be biding time to make sure that your physical units don't really get hit very hard. But you're going to want to try and take the strength phase out as quickly as possible, because it is really the most difficult to beat using this setup. However, if you've executed successfully up to this point, congratulations, you're on to the final phase of the fight, and arguably the easiest other than the first phase, because you are going to rip through this with Vegito. And even without Vegito, this is really easy. If you use a physical sealer, the Gotenks or the Bardock basically, then you're always going to have another card that can activate the guard against this intelligence phase Vegeta. And if you set up your team in either the exact same way or a very similar way to mine, then you're going to have basically 6 cards that will take very little damage, if not all 7. The actual most difficult part of this fight is how long it lasts, as this Vegeta is going to have 5 health bars. But really the only thing that means is that it's just going to take more hits to take him out, and you're still not going to really be in a situation where you're ever going to be fearing for your life. Because even if you don't have your own Vegito in this deck, the other Vegito will be raising your HP to around 100,000, and none of your characters should be taking 100,000 damage from this super attack in this final phase. Basically at this point what I'm saying is congratulations, you've beaten the event, and this guide should have helped you if you were having issues before. I'll talk quickly about a couple of other team comps that I might recommend using. One is a villain setup. The villains team in Global is damn near unstoppable if you have a lot of the top tier cards, because most of the cards lower defense, if not greatly lower defense, and do a ridiculous amount of damage. I would even go so far as to say that Rose and Buhan on their own could potentially beat this event, not to mention characters such as Full Power Frieza and the normal Goku Black. Now you could use a mono tech team, but if you choose to do so, keep 2 things in mind. A, you're going to be at type disadvantage at 2 points throughout this fight. The first phase and the final phase. The final phase is going to be the one that's difficult, because you have to set your team up in such a way that is similar to this guide, where you have a sealer. Another quick thing to keep in mind is that you are going to be lacking a very strong tank and not going to have any counters as well. But if you do choose to run mono tech, I have one really key piece of advice, and that is during the intelligence phases of the fight, do not get Gotenks' 11 key super. Get his 12 or above. And the reason that I'm saying that is because usually you do want the 11 key super because it raises your attack for the next turn. However, you're going to be at type disadvantage. So the fact that you are raising your attack actually really doesn't mean a whole lot. What you're going to want to do is get his 12 key super, because his 12 key super lowers defense on the enemy. While doing this though, keep in mind that it does not permanently lower defense, so you're going to have to be continually lowering defense. And I would take any other cards that you have in your tech unit that lower defense as well. And if you have Tech Whis passively stuns, so carry that in your tech deck as well. But as you can hear from the sounds of the triumphant music, this Dokkan event is over. It is not a very difficult Dokkan event, even on super difficulty. You just have to make sure that you have units to fill specific roles. Even if you don't, this event honestly shouldn't really even be that difficult. I ran it with an intelligence team the other day, and my intelligence team is pretty weak outside of having a Buhan and Janemba, and this was a really easy event still. Unfortunately for me, was not able to pull Intelligence Vegeta. Did probably about 10, maybe 15 summons on this banner. Maybe not that many, it was probably under 10, but I pulled every other Vegeta except for that one. I even pulled a duplicate physical one that I already had. So still missing the intelligence one, but that's okay. That'll come around again at some point. If you were lucky enough to pull it, congratulations, because you will now be able to Dokkan Awaken it, and you have yourself a really awesome card. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this Dokkan event guide. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. We're going to be doing more Dokkan Battle content, more Dokkan Battle guides, some playthroughs of stuff in the future, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. See you next time for more Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle.